Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, a recent survey suggests that many Togolese citizens are in favor of leaving ECOWAS because they feel the regional bloc is not serving their interests. They believe the benefits like improved trade, free movement, and regional support have not materialized in ways that impact their daily lives. Now, instead, they see other countries gaining more, while Togo deals with economic frustration and limited development linked to ECOWAS's performance. Additionally, there are concerns about national sovereignty and security. Now, some Togolese feel ECOWAS intervenes too much in the internal affairs of member states and has not done enough to curb the spread of insecurity from the Sahel region. Combined with the perception that the bloc imposes costs without clear benefits, this has led to growing public support for Togo to reconsider its membership. On this topic today, I am joined by Dr. David Matsanga, African Affairs Analyst in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and we also have Haruna Warkani, former ECOWAS diplomat in Abuja, Nigeria. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Now let's begin with you, Dr. Matsanga. Why are so many Togolese now saying, let them go? What's driving this sentiment among Togo's ordinary citizens?
First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us here. Many people thought ECOWAS would bring miracles. They never expected. And I want to correct the vision is I am in London, not Dar es Salaam, first of all, so that it doesn't create any you know. The situation is, in 1975, when ECOWAS was formed, there were expectations that one day there would be a regional body that could come with a regional monetary union, a free passport, travel, entry points. But after several years, from 1975 to date, we have seen instead of this happening, it has gone back. It is all gone back to the old days, interference, military coups, bad leadership, bad governance, bad elections, some of them supervised by ECOWAS itself. They got to supervise these elections. Look at the topic that you have just had of Ivory Coast. Someone is knocking out somebody. Look at what happened in Senegal. Look at what has happened elsewhere. So people have found out that the organization, although was formed in good faith, my brother there, a diplomat who has worked there, will say so. It has now failed to deliver. And most of these organizations in Africa, like the ECOWAS, East African Community, and the others, are not delivering IGAD. They are not delivering SADC. They are not delivering. So time has come for us to say whether we reform them, and that's why some people in Togo are saying we are not getting any benefits. And there is nothing they are helping us to get better since 1975, although there were good intentions of forming this organization.
Okay. Now let's come back to you, Mr. Warkani. Now, Togo's foreign minister said joining the alliance of Sahel states was not impossible. That's, there's a slight chance. Now, to what extent is the resurgence of pan-African or Sahel bloc alignment feeding this mood?
Well, to start with, I think first and foremost, we have to understand that this is a classic example of the anti-French virus that took root in Mali, germinated in Burkina Faso, and blossomed in Niger, and now is spreading across African countries without exception. We have to understand that the French model of end of colonialism, so to say, on paper, that did not translate into any freedom of whatsoever source, is actually fueling all these sentiments. Togo has long before now indicated its intention to really be a little more free, particularly when ECOWAS became like an albatross in its diplomatic and domestic affairs. Let us not forget the essence of the current president, how he came into power and how he maintains power up to this moment has been quite a problem. And they foresee ECOWAS intervention in some of these things or circumstances as a hindrance to their freedom as sovereign states. And therefore, a lot of them have been attending ECOWAS meetings, but they had their reservations. This has translated into citizen resistance to ECOWAS. And of late, ECOWAS has not performed beyond expectation to ginger citizenship commitment to the ideals of ECOWAS, because sincerely, country after country, the performance of ECOWAS has been going down the line. And so you will expect citizens to react the way they are reacting right now. We have said in other commentaries or platforms before now that Togo was a potential candidate for the Sahel states because all the conditions are ripe in Togo for it to join the Sahel states. The body language and practice, you could see clearly after the declaration. This also might not be too far for Benin Republic, and it's merely in the waiting of the wings. We must not also forget that Senegal has clearly indicated its ambivalence, neither fully in ECOWAS or with the Sahel states as it is today. So the challenges for ECOWAS are enormous. They are multifaceted, they are multifrontal, and a lot of reasons are simply not working towards a cohesive regional bloc. It's no longer the case. The era of euphoria of ECOWAS was in the early 80s to the 90s. Today, I think the belief in ECOWAS is certainly waning. So leaders, religious, political, diplomatic, natural, and otherwise, have to really wear a different garb and pursue a different policy strategy to maintain the remaining members of the group. The Sahel states have shown that they can be on their own and they can be more independent and achieve even more development without ECOWAS.
All right. All right. Now, Mr. Warkani, let's hear from Dr. Matsanga. Still on this, Dr. Matsanga, because there was a political analyst, Madi Jabakate, who suggested that access to Nigerian oil and intelligence sharing could follow AES membership. So how likely is the AES to deliver better access to resources such as oil or security cooperation? Are these promises credible?
First of all, I don't know whether you are hearing me.
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to agree with my brother there that there is something very, very wrong in which has crept into ECOWAS, the French factor. And let's speak frankly. Let's be honest. The formation of ECOWAS was based on how much France would contribute to its existence. There has been a sentiment, a growing sentiment, anti-French sentiment, sweeping all over the Sahel region and all over Africa, in most places where the French were former colonizers, but they never left. They left us with several wounds. They have left us while gagging us on several things. So this sentiment has been running around the free states that declared that they don't want to stay in this thing called ECOWAS. So he is right. We are in his analysis that sentiment of the French external interference in the affairs of the current African created a big problem for the collapse of, or the pending collapse of ECOWAS. Two, ECOWAS itself, look at your country, the biggest, the chairmanship of ECOWAS, Nigeria itself, is under terrible siege from several angles. Terrorism, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, kidnapped. That is also, as some of the smaller states are asking, what's going on here? There has never been authority. We have not shown good examples. We go in bed with people who steal elections. Look at what has happened. We go in bed with people who have stolen elections. We have gone in bed with people who break human, who abuse human beings, human rights in that region. Look at the suspension of other people from, from elections. Nobody is talking. Nobody is checking. Look at what happened in Senegal. 2 men were locked up. We were then released 2 weeks before elections. ECOWAS did not come up to say no. Some of us had to shout on top of our voices until Macky Sall released the 2 gentlemen. So it has lived its usefulness. It is no longer working as it used to be. It doesn't have in an army. The rebellion of Boko Haram, ECOWAS should have sent troops in northern Nigeria, in the Maiduguri area, where the Boko Haram has been kidnapping girls. Nothing has happened. We still have a problem. So here, the French factor, my sister and my brother across there, my elder diplomat, the French factor has worked very effectively to erode the credibility of ECOWAS.
Okay. Now, Mr. Warkani, let's talk about security-wise. How will Togo or Togo's pivot, affect its security posture, especially with jihadist threats near its borders? Do you think that the AES would offer more robust military cooperation, and at what cost?
Well, the military cooperation and protection, let me say, comparatively speaking, between what ECOWAS was or is and what the Sahel can be or is today, is very, very clear. ECOWAS has failed in this era or regard of military protection for its members for quite some time. There have been several efforts, including the establishment of MINUSMA in Mali and some of the peacekeeping initiatives in some of these other countries. However, there has been minimal successes registered in those initiatives. And so this is one of the reasons why people have lost faith in the capacity of ECOWAS to protect even its own citizens. Therefore, today, if Togo feels like going towards the AES for protection, I am sure they are sensing what the Russians are bringing in, and what the capacity of Russia is to protect these member countries. We can see the massive movement of troops, equipments, both intelligence and overt. So in this regard, Togo definitely will lean more towards the AES than the traditional ECOWAS bloc. And there are very good reasons for all this, because ECOWAS has become a very large bureaucracy such that decision-making was very difficult, painful, and slow. And this has created more problem of ownership, sincerity between members, and what have you. You see that recently, some years back, ECOWAS had to declare a new mantra of ECOWAS of peoples instead of ECOWAS of governments, because since establishment, ECOWAS has been more of a coalition of states rather than of the people, because the ideals for which ECOWAS was formed hardly permeated to the people. Therefore, as long as citizens were not enjoying what they ought to enjoy as a result of this integration, you had problems of perception. And perception can be stronger than reality. Therefore, whereas the leaders of ECOWAS would think everything was fine, on the ground, I think the opposite is the case. So surely Togo will feel much more comfortable with the Sahel. And let's not forget, they speak the same language, share cultural affinities that are more alike than the remaining members of ECOWAS, and could communicate much easier, faster, and cheaper. So it is obvious that Togo and, like I said, even Benin nearby might look at what else can they do to perhaps fuse into AES, and we know what will be thereafter. So you cannot blame the leaders for now for wanting to perhaps join the AES, because since the era of ECOWAS has not demonstrated physically on the ground the availability of troops to protect countries. There has been the conclusion of a standby force. Unfortunately, standby force was created, but it remained on paper. It has never been operationalized. It only came to the fore when ECOWAS suddenly woke up to take that disastrous decision to impose sanctions on member states. That was when ECOWAS started kicking in place to say the standby force will intervene. And that was wrong. That was in the most inappropriate direction. And so today, if the military doesn't change its tactics, if the military and the political governance structure does not change its strategy, definitely I think what we are seeing is a slow but sure demise of an regional organization that had been the epitome of regionalism in Africa. Very unfortunate development, but it is something that is very difficult to do otherwise.
Okay. Now, Dr. Matsanga, just before we, wrap up now, analysts do say that, or have said that alliances are not marriages. Do you think that dual affiliation, like staying in the ECOWAS while joining the AES, would work in practice, or do you think that it would create conflicting obligations?
Truly speaking, I agree with my brother there. All states in West Africa seem to be going that side where these young men have gone. I'm telling you. And it is a matter of time that the organization created by Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger becomes good. You can see even in the corner there, Chad is becoming very, very stubborn. It's saying, no, I follow this side. This side is better than this side. So there is nothing, you know what, you can't create an organization that depends on foreign funding. One of the problems that Africa has, and which Africa has not solved, even the African Union, is funding. African Union doesn't fund itself. African Union is funded by partners. They say partners from the European Union. They fund their elections, they fund their budgets, they fund all these activities. That is very wrong. After 67 years of independence, 54 nations, 55 nations cannot sit down. 15 nations cannot sit down and collect money of their own. They have allowed corruption to eat them, to finish them within their own state. They beg money from France. They beg money from European Union. Then the European Union gives them conditions. What type of Africa is this? So these states that are going on their own way to make sure, and one of the things that I see which is draconian in ECOWAS is the question of banishing these states to say, we go away, we don't want you. Instead of re-engaging them, bringing them together to say, look, you have taken arms, you have overthrown governments, but you are still our sons in Africa. Come back. Please give us your program. We shall allow you to take your time and come back. Instead, we have given them threats. Instead, we have even want to overthrow them. We want to work with foreign powers to remove these younger men who have come. That's why the younger men are becoming more popular. And every citizen in West Africa is saying, and the population is over 70% of the population is not Matsanga today and my brother there. Okay. 70% of the population in Africa is it the younger generation, you people. You are seeing what the younger men are doing across. Therefore, I don't think the marriage is going to be there, my sister. People are going to Sahel. That region is there. The other new organization is where everybody is going to end. Benin is in the going. Everybody there is jittery. And they are leaving these bigger states like Nigeria, which is still standing on its own, supporting ECOWAS, putting in the budget. So,
all right, Dr. Matsanga, I really wish, that we could actually speak more on this, but thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your, your thoughts on this topic, Dr. David Matsanga, Africa Affairs Analyst, Haruna Warkani, former ECOWAS diplomat as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Now, with that, we have come to the end of the show. Do not forget to catch up on missed episodes on our YouTube channel at News Central. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube.